Once upon a time, in a meadow full of buttercups and dandelions, there lived a tiny gray mouse named Milo. Now, Milo was no ordinary mouse. Oh no, he had an extraordinary dream. A dream to have the biggest roar in the whole wide world. You heard me right, a roar like a lion's roar. Now, this might sound funny to you because, let's face it, mice don't roar, they squeak. But to little Milo, his squeak sounded like a tiny hammer. And every day he would stand on top of an old stone and pretend he was a fierce lion roaring at the top of his lungs. Roar, roar, he would say, jumping up and down. I am the mighty lion mouse. Fear me, all you animals of the meadow. And the other animals would look at him and giggle. One sunny afternoon, after a nice long nap under a bush, Milo decided it was time to practice his roaring again. So he went to his favorite stone and started his daily routine. Roar, roar, he yelled, puffing out his cheeks. Beware, all you animals, for the lion mouse is awake. A squirrel who was busy burying an acorn nearby twitched her bushy tail and called out, "Oh, good day, Mr. Mouse. Having fun?" "Having fun? Fun?" cried Milo. "I am not having fun. I am practicing my roar so I can scare all the animals in the meadow." "Well, you certainly do scare me," said the squirrel nervously before scampering up a tree. And Milo just stood there feeling very proud of himself. "That is one scared squirrel," he said, with a big smile on his face. Then a wise old owl hooted from a branch above him. "Why do you want to scare everyone, Milo? Isn't it more fun to play with your friends?" "Play? Huh. I don't want to play," said Milo. "Well, I want to roar like a lion, and I will show you all. One day I will." With that, Milo turned and dashed away into the tall grass. The other animals watched him go and shook their heads. "Poor little Milo," said a rabbit. "He'll never have a lion's roar. It's just a little mouse." "Well, he doesn't need a lion's roar," said a kind deer. "He's small but brave." "Brave," scoffed a badger. "What's brave about pretending to be something you're not?" "Perhaps it's brave to be yourself," said the owl. The other animals thought this was very deep and said nothing more. And Milo, meanwhile, had climbed up into the hayloft of a nearby barn and was fast asleep. Now, as night fell over the meadow, a big, hungry fox came sniffing by. He was sly and sneaky, and he looked in all the burrows to see if he could find some tasty animal snacks. But all the animals were safely tucked away in their homes. The fox was getting pretty hungry and a bit frustrated. Just as he was about to give up, he heard a noise. It was a tiny squeak. Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Ow!
The fox pricked up his ears and listened. It sounded like a mouse.
No.
The fox crept closer to the sound and saw Milo's little gray tail disappear around a corner. "Perfect," he said with a wicked grin. "Little mouse for dinner." So the fox slipped inside the barn and began to stalk his prey. Meanwhile, Milo was fast asleep until suddenly he heard some loud footsteps. Thump, thump. He opened his eyes and gasped when he saw the big orange fox slinking closer and closer. "Oh dear," he cried. Where could he go? What could he do? Then he remembered his big plan. Taking a deep breath, Milo climbed to the top of a hay bale and stood as tall as he could. Then in his bravest voice he yelled, "Roar, grrr, raw." The fox stopped in his tracks and stared at the little mouse. The sound echoed through the barn and made the fox's fur stand on end. All of a sudden, the barn felt very dark and very scary to the fox. And before he knew it, he turned and ran as fast as he could out of the barn and away from the meadow. As soon as he was gone, all the other animals came out to see what had happened. "Did you hear that?" said a sheep. "A roar in the hayloft? Did anyone else see that? It looked like a little mouse," said a goat. And as they all looked around, they saw Milo standing on the hay bale with his tiny chest puffed out and his tail held high. "Well done, Milo," said the rabbit. "That was very brave of you." "You scared away that mean fox," said the deer. "You were so worried about you." Milo blushed and looked down at his little paws. I didn't mean to scare them away," he said quietly. "I just wanted to have a lion's roar." "Well, you may not have a lion's roar, but you are brave, and that's what matters most," said the wise old owl. And all the animals cheered for Milo, the tiniest mouse with the biggest bravery. And as they all went back to their homes, Milo couldn't stop smiling. Maybe he didn't have a lion's roar, he thought, but he was brave enough to protect himself and his friends. That made him the happiest little mouse in the whole wide meadow. The end. If you liked this story, make sure to subscribe so you never miss any of our adventures. So we'd love to have you join our family here. Thank you for watching.